Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 219. Iliya here, and we are gonna go into the market today, have a look at what happened this week, what kind of opportunities we had, and most importantly what we can expect for the upcoming week, which is the last week of the month of November. Now November was great but a little bit tough, and coming from another 2 tough months, I'm personally not performing as I would love to have and as I would love to end the year, which is of course what makes me really work harder to refine my trading plan, to refine my timing and stuff like this. So again, as it's pretty much we're getting into December, the market is going to be starting to get a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish, but we still have a lot of news that are incoming. We still have a very important news release, which is the Fed's interest rate decision. I think it should be somewhere in December. That is definitely going to shake in the markets. So I had a question like, do you trade in November and December? Well, personally, I think the first 2 weeks of December could be good, but then of course as we start getting into Christmas and the holidays and New Year's, then of course like after the second week of December you could be looking to stop. So right now let's focus on finishing the month of November strong. Let's focus on actually making some profit in the first of December, like in the first 2 weeks of December, and then of course calling the year and getting into a reflection mode to really see where you are right now. How is your year going? Are you happy? Are you not? And what are you gonna do about it? All right, so without further ado, let's get into the analysis and see what are we gonna be getting this week. All right, you know the drill. We're always starting with a Dixie, but of course, before we do that, we are going to have a look at the economic calendar. So Monday, no news. We just have the new home sales change, but that is a medium impact. Then on Tuesday, we have like a bunch of news right there, but nothing that important. Like if you're trading the Aussie, of course, overnight right there, we have some news. Then London session is going to be dead. Then we have like consumer confidence and a couple of speeches from the Fed. So definitely can bring in some volume around New York. Then on Wednesday, we start immediately having some red news for the NZD. Then we have some red news here for the Euro. So CPI for Germany, that is definitely going to be important. GDP for the US, right? Beige book, this is also important. And yeah, so Wednesday, I would expect for Wednesday to start picking up the steam. And then on Thursday, you can see, wow, like that is a lot of news. Like I'm not going to read them all, but we have personal consumption expenditures, jobless claims, CPI right there for the Eurozone, unemployment, OPEC meeting, wow, right? So Wednesday and Thursday are going to be the days that move, and then potentially Friday, we also do have like manufacturing PMI, speech from the Fed, right? And also some PMIs for the Eurozone. Fridays potentially that are going to throw us a nice continuation or potential reversal. So again, you could potentially frame the week in terms of news, like Monday and Tuesday, driving the market somewhere, which we're going to be seeing right now where potentially the market could go. And then of course Wednesday and Thursday potentially making the manipulation and then continuing with the weekly expansion. So going on to the charts, what do we have on the Dixie right now in terms of the weekly? Well, of course, if we look at structure, we have this nice push up, but I also started paying attention a lot to momentum. Like, is the market really pushing with momentum or is it not? And is it actually, even if you have a momentous push, if it's being disrespected by a momentous pullback, then of course that could mean a sign of a reversal. So again, you can see like we were pushing and pushing and pushing. However, right now here, we accumulated for 5 weeks. Very nice bearish engulfing candle. We had a pullback on the first week of November. And then previous week, we had a very nice expansion. You can see the candle actually closed with no wick to the downside. And right now we're creating this candle that actually continues a little bit lower. But what I also started looking a lot at after I had some suggestions from a fellow Fanatic within the comment section, he actually told me to have a look at some imbalances and fair value gaps. So I actually started studying those. And the more I actually look at them, they're very powerful confluence. So what you see right now, you're actually going to see me utilize those a little bit more. So what we see right now is this bearish imbalance right there on the weekly time frame, and you can see the market actually has pushed lower. So again, as I told you, Monday and Tuesday could potentially be making that pullback. So what I would expect to happen on the Monday and Tuesday is for us to pull back within that weekly area, right? And then from there, of course, we never know where it's gonna stop. It could just stop the open, it could go 25, 50, and even above. Like usually we would like to not see it close above the whole thing, right? Then, of course, from here, we're going to be looking for lower time frame confluences to potentially target the weekly low if it's still available. Now, transferring this on the daily, You can see, for example, the daily, like this is what we're gonna just keep here as a weekly. I have to think of a tool, like this one is a little bit too red. We had this push down, we had this pullback, the market makes a lower low, it makes a lower high, and again, you can see where does it respect from, right? Where does it go from? Of course, we had the daily lower high supply right there, but we also had this very little tiny imbalance right there. Came in, reacted, and right now it does look like it wants to make a new daily structure break, right? So slightly bit hard to right now forecast, like is it gonna go take out the break first, or is it first going to actually take out the imbalance right there and then potentially reverse? Again, guys, we just gotta flow with the markets and see. But again, in terms of the weekly expectation, I would expect for us to open bullish, tap inside this area right there, and then potentially start looking for confluences down there. Now, again, on the 4H, the 4-hourly was bearish all the time. Like, again, this is what I told you, the DXY, it actually has a daily high to a 4-hourly high, daily high, daily low, 4-hourly high, 4-hourly low. We pulled back very nicely right there. And then right now the market is making its way down. But what I don't like about it is that it's all internal, right? We don't have like a bearish trend change right now. It's all between this high to this low. So currently exactly where it is a little bit tricky to tell you what is going to happen. Because again, like technically our zone is this. Okay, I now draw imbalances instead of zones. This is our zone, the market tapped it in. So right now, yes, the expectation will be to actually take out this daily low. And maybe again, another weekly scenario could be that we take out the low and then we initiate into the highs. Because again, the market is going to be needing liquidity and fuel in order to also pull back there into the weekly imbalance. So we can take out that daily low and weekly low, initiate higher. And then here, of course, we're going to see what is going to happen on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that is my expectation on the Dixie. Currently, you can see the momentum is more to the downside. Again, you can see the market pushed up, but there was no imbalance at all. But then on the way down, it started making those little imbalances, respected, pushed down. Right now, we have another one. So, of course, we can expect a very short-term sell to take us into the liquidity. And then, of course, potentially we can start expanding into that weekly imbalance. But, of course, we cannot really expect to be tapped this week. It could actually make another candle lower. It can come back next week. But that is a very easy way to actually frame a bias, because if it comes in this week, then of course we're gonna have a lot of bearish sentiment. So let's see how it's gonna go. That is the Dixie overall, looking at this bearish sentiment, but of course it can play out in numerous ways, and this is why we have to flow with the market. So stay tuned for my outlook that I'm maybe gonna do on Wednesday, because there we're gonna be having more data. Well, very simply, EURUSD is just the reverse on the DXY, so let's not break it down way too much. It has exactly the same imbalance right there on the weekly that formed right here, so let's just mark it like that. And very nice candle. This week was kind of sluggish, very hard to trade EU this week. There were so many better pairs to trade. Personally, actually, I didn't mention what I did trade this week. I took a break even on Monday, and then I took a half loss on GU somewhere during the week. So I didn't really trade this week. I had a very clear bias, by the way, but the market was so hard to get in. And this is what actually really makes me work hard right now, because I have been really spot on the bias, but somehow like the trades run away from me. So again, I'm going to be thinking of bigger stop losses or of more different entry models to enter. So again, I'm getting into hustle mode right now, because the year is ending and I'm not entirely happy how it ends. Of course, I have to go back to the middle of this year and to the beginning of this year when I was doing great. But right now, the past 3 months, it's not great, and that makes me work even harder. So now, bullish on again, you can see in terms of structure, it is bearish. However, again, if I challenge you to go and find like any sort of clean imbalance within that area, well, there is the first one, it actually got filled, and there is a little one right there, it got filled, failed to follow through, and right now we're having momentum to the upside. So again, you want to look more at momentum. Yes, structure is bearish right now. We're between this high and this low, but the momentum is to the upside, right? And even on the monthly, there was like this bearish break of structure forming by this imbalance right there. But looking at how the monthly candle is going to close, it is most likely going to close bullish, because this little imbalance right there is already being broken big time. So I would expect for the market to actually head higher. Now, weekly imbalance dropping onto the daily. Oops, what the hell did I just do? Dropping onto the daily time frame. Let's zoom in. And there is our weekly imbalance right there. And you can see on the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame this week, I was bullish, but it didn't develop as I would loved it to develop, right? We had this very, very, very little tiny one. On GU, it was much cleaner, but EU just left this little guy right there. And of course, it had this 4-hourly demand zone right there, which it actually later came to retest. So we pushed up Monday, on the top. Tuesday made the high, and then we started retracing. Wednesday pullback, Thursday bank holiday chop, and then of course Friday tried to make a move, but very lethargic. It wasn't clear. So pretty much like the only days to trade were like Tuesday and Wednesday, to actually taking shorts towards that zone. And there were a couple of setups to take, but again, nothing that clear. So in terms of the daily right now, similar to the Dixie, we can expect a daily break and then potentially weekly imbalance fill. We can expect for the market immediately to head lower to fill the imbalance, then potentially go again. A lot of things could happen, which is why, again, you should not be forecasting too much, but of course, flowing with the market. Now, here's where the EU responded from, which is pretty much the hourly low. So hourly low to hourly high right there. The market pulled back all the way down to pretty much the higher low and the demand zone. Reacted from here, pulled back, and of course, we had more of a bullishness right there, but it was very, very, very hard to catch. So pretty much the only trades that I think you could have taken are shorts within like Wednesday right there, to be targeting this zone. But at that time, we were like filling in imbalances right there. We were filling in the daily imbalance. So I thought actually I was more long biased. On one of the days, I was really looking for the longs, but the market pretty much did not provide, and it crashed through my long zones. But again, later we tapped inside from here, we pushed up, and if you actually look carefully, how did it form? With this little imbalance right there, disrespecting anything to the left. It pulled back, but again, then later started getting a little bit choppy during the bank holiday, so there was no way to get into longs. Could have been taking some longs on Friday, but I didn't trade on Friday because, again, like after bank holiday and we had the Black Friday, I think the market actually closed earlier yesterday, so nothing very clear. Now, right now, again, the positioning of price is not very good, but keeping in mind what it did to pull back here, to actually having that bullish order flow right now. Again, I would love for the market to take out the daily high and then to potentially start expecting that bigger pullback. But if it starts bearish, then of course from here, I'm going to definitely be looking for longs because we have a lot of confidence with the weekly time frame. But apart from that, there is nothing much I can mention because, again, if you start dropping demand zones like this, yes, that could be valid, but it's not, because this is your low, this is your high. So everything you see here is internal, right? And when it comes to internal, I'm mostly judging the momentum, like whether imbalances are forming or not. And right now we can see like the market did form a little bit right there just on the close. So again, we could potentially expect the market to rush into the highs, take out the actual liquidity, and then potentially initiate a pullback. But we are about to see. So let's monitor Monday and Tuesday, very slow days. Probably we're going to be chopping up until then. And then, of course, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that is when the action is going to come in. So until then, a lot could change. So again, don't marry your bias and don't try too hard to forecast where we could potentially go. Let's have a look at Euro Yen. By the way, guys, the Tuesday outlook, we had a beautiful bullish bias on the yen pairs, and they all played out perfectly, which is also what makes me think that when the USD pairs are choppy, then of course go trade JPYs. Now here you can see this week, again, similar that I'm explaining to you. Currently, I am definitely, again, guys, not perfect. I didn't even know what imbalance was until like 2 months. So right now we had this weekly imbalance right there. The market comes inside it, and you can see this is why we're having this very nice reaction. So again, is the next weekly candle going to attack the previous weekly high right there? Well, definitely possible, because we took out the previous daily low, we feel this imbalance right there, and we massively reacted. So right now our task is to try to find a lower time frame entry on that. So again, you can see here the weekly one, and now here you want to see also the daily start forming very nicely to the upside. But again, you can see it wasn't very strong, and this is because Thursday was a bank holiday. But you can actually see here we have a very, I'm not even gonna mark it up right there, but we're having this very nice bullish theme. Again, the daily time frame being perfectly bullish, and this is our next objective. Dropping onto the hourly time frame. Of course, here you have the benefit of having clear structure, because unlike on EU, on GU, on all the pairs, there was like a very big hourly range. But here we had a very clean pullback. And then, of course, from there, where I told you on Tuesday, we were looking at that same area right there. There was also a very nice low being swept right here to actually fuel the liquidity so the market can start pushing up. There was a beautiful 15-minute setup that I want you to explore. Then, of course, the market makes the hourly bullish alignment, which means that the hourly is aligning with the daily and the weekly. And that is pretty much potentially where we could start looking for trades. There is like the first one. The market broke up, quickly pulled back, reacted, higher low formation, higher high. There is your next structure break right there. The market again forms a little bit of an imbalance right here, which is precisely resonating with the overall higher low formation, taps inside, reacts. So look at Euro Yen. Like, I was trying to take longs and shorts on EU, and I unsuccessfully managed to find something that ticked the plan. Euro Yen provided 1 long, 2 longs, 3 longs right there, and actually trended very nicely. So I'm most likely going to be making a JPY list and starting to look a little bit closely at those ones. Now, 4-hourly time frame is beautifully bullish. Right now, we're starting to take old highs to the left. There's the first one. Well, yeah, not the first one. After the first one is taken, we can, of course, expect all of them to fail. There is this one. This one was also taken. And yeah, pretty much the next objective is the weekly high. Now, again, based on structure, currently we're bullish. I would expect a pullback and a continuation higher. That's only if the overall sentiment remains, but currently we have beautiful bullish order flow. Like, the market could sometimes flush down a little bit to take out some of these lows in order to fuel a move higher. So keep this in mind. But again, usually when it does this, it's coming back to fill some sort of an imbalance. So again, like, the only thing that I could say is that this little low right there could potentially get filled if we are about to be making a manipulation. So personally, I would expect for us to start carrying on to the upside immediately, like just a pullback and a continuation. But if the market decides to make like a weekly low and grab some steam before it heads higher, that could be something that could happen. So those are my potential 2 scenarios. Let's see how it goes. Aussie dollar, after chopping up for a while, right now we're starting to see a little bit more of a clarity about potentially where the market is going, because we had like a bullish candle, then bearish candle, then bullish candle right there. And right now it looks like we're popping up to the upside. Again, yet on the weekly time frame, there is no momentum, there is no imbalance being created. So for us to actually say that it's bullish, we have this overall shift of this most recent high right there. So the weekly time frame is turning bullish, which is a very good sign. Now, of course, next week we could explore the monthly, and like you can see right now, the monthly is actually getting into this imbalance right there. So it could all of a sudden right now start rejecting. So keep that in mind, definitely, because it's also coming in from this monthly higher low right there, and we're also rejecting from this. But of course, we're going to be entering right now some bearish pressure. So slightly bit of a supply and demand sandwich happening right there on Aussie dollar. Now, the daily time frame was rather clean though. Like, if we exclude all of this, which was also clean, like lower high, lower low, lower high, breaking lower. And then here we actually accumulated for a little bit and we expanded higher, which pretty much gave us this daily break of structure right there. And then we pulled back very nicely into the daily demand zone right there. We massively expanded, creating this very, very, very big imbalance. We came and filled it to around almost 50%. Expanded again higher, creating another daily bullish break of structure. And then we have, of course, another imbalance right there that was filled on Wednesday, and we're expanding higher right now, and we just took out the daily high. Now you can see it's starting to get a little bit choppier, like beautiful move, a little bit of a stronger pullback. I don't really like this. You can see it pushes with imbalance up, but it pushes with imbalance down. This is a little bit sketchy, right, when it happens like that. But when it impulsed here, clean long, impulse here, clean long, and right now we're breaking structure. There is no more imbalance. So we are pretty high. We're pretty high. So I would expect for it to pop down a little bit. I don't have downwards targets though. Like, if there was some sort of a weekly imbalance, I can say, well, it could come down to fill the weekly imbalance, but no. And you can see it's not entirely clean on the 4-hourly time frame as well. Like, broke up here, then it broke down, and then here it broke up with a wick. And then here, this is the last break of structure. And yeah, pretty much this whole thing is our last demand zone. Just taking out the daily high. So I don't like it, right? So I'm just going to say it straightforward. I don't like it, especially this piece of price action right there. It's pretty high, just taking out the daily high. The 4-hourly time frame is bullish, but it's driving towards that daily high. So what I would actually love to happen is for it to flush down, to collect all of these lows, and then give us a new alignment and a new bias, and then potentially start going long. So when it comes to the Aussie, not very clean. Of course, if you want to keep it simple, that could be a potential outcome, just a pullback and a continuation. But again, think about fuel. Right now, the market is just taking out highs. They took out that daily high, it took out 2 4-hourly highs. So in order for it to start moving higher again, it needs to take out some lows. And I think these lows are perfect, but I just don't know where it could potentially reach for to potentially fuel a move higher. So again, keep this in mind. Aussie dollar, definitely bullish. I would expect for it to go bullish long term because we're seeing some very nice bullish sentiment recently. Just be careful of that monthly imbalance to the left. But of course, let's see how the daily is going to develop right now. It's going very good. Maybe if we come on Monday and we expand higher to create here another imbalance, then I would definitely say long bias. So again, let's wait a little bit, let's see how it goes, and then we're gonna reevaluate. Let's have a look at AJ. Now on Tuesday, there was a beautiful long trade right there, so make sure to check out the Tuesday flow with the markets. Currently, I thought we're actually gonna make a little bit of a pullback after taking out this weekly high right here, and actually rejecting with a wick, but this week the market opened, made a weekly low, pushed higher. It didn't take out the weekly high, which is the next logical target, but if you look to the left, also the next very logical liquidity target is pretty much this 2022 high. And it's gonna be reaching a very, very, very important level very, very, very soon. I think this week. Dropping on the day, again, daily, very clean break of structure. So why would you expect a bigger pullback? The market just came in, it filled the imbalance right there, and it consolidated around, like, even from previous week. Thursday came into the imbalance, Friday chop, Monday chop, Tuesday chop, which actually provided us the long setup after taking out these lows right there. And then again, you can see the expansion higher. Now, what I really like on the daily is that we have, after filling this imbalance right there, we're starting to create new ones. Like there is a new one, and there is also another one. So like this one is definitely a little bit smaller. But again, I would say long bias, but how it's gonna play out? Well, we're getting very close to that liquidity target. If we first take out the liquidity, then I would expect we should no longer be looking for longs, because I think we might start reversing a little bit lower, because again, that is a very, very, very important high that we have to live. Like this is the 2022 high of the year, I think. Please, let me just be... Yeah, I mean, this is 2022, and yeah, this is 2022's high. We're going to be going above this, and I think then potentially we can expect a pullback. So don't force way too many longs if you're not in already. But if the market opens bearish and fills in this one or this one, then of course we can cleanly target that imbalance, that high up there. Dropping onto the 40 time frame, of course, we had the bearish structure, but then of course we had a long trade down there on Tuesday. Go and explore it on the 50-minute. It was extremely clean. 40 break of structure, just massive impulses, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high right now. This is the most recent higher low formation, but it is just below all of these imbalances right there. So when it comes to structure, again, sometimes why your structure might get disrespected, which is a recent kind of not an aha moment, but it just made sense to me. If you actually get structure being broken, the market is most likely going to be feeling some sort of an imbalance. So even though this is your hourly higher low formation right now, the market can just dip below it, or maybe it can even dip further, right? And then it's going to reverse there, and you're like, well, the market shifted bearish and now it goes up. Well, yeah, because there is something on the higher time frames that has to be balanced. So this is what I would love to see on AJ. But of course, if the market opens and it pops up, then of course, guys, we have to just wait and see what is going to happen, because we're taking 2022 yearly highs and we can expect a drop. But who knows? We might actually just run through the high and just forget about it. So let's see. That is AJ. That is my hard time frame analysis. Looking to long from these two areas. Let's see. All right, let's have a look at the NZDs. Now, NZUSD is very nicely making a weekly break of structure with a very clean body close. That suggests a lot of bullishness coming into this market. And yeah, we're pretty much right now going to be staying at a higher high in terms of all the structure, in terms of all the time frames and the structure. We're going to be looking at all of them, so it's going to be tricky. But something that I want to point out is that here we had this very tiny little weekly imbalance. And of course, you can see this week the market came inside, reacted, and then of course right now the expectations are to continue going bullish. Now, as the weekly is bullish, of course we have to see how the daily is going to go. And you can see here the daily pushed up, pulls back, the weekly imbalance aligning with the daily one. Massive expansion. Once again, this very big imbalance right there. We came in. We actually on NZUSD, we pull back to the 50% right there, which is very nice. New break of structure on the daily. New imbalance on the daily right there getting filled, and right now we're once again having a new daily break of structure, which is exactly the same we have with the Aussie dollar. As I told you, a little bit high right now, so pretty much beautiful. I mean, I'm pissed for looking at GU and EU, while like AU and NZUSD were actually pretty clean this week. And dropping actually on the 40 time frame, what I want to show you is also the example that I told you on exactly on the previous pair, right? When I told you that, yes, we are bullish on the 4H. So again, there is the 40 time frame. We have a higher high, we have a higher low, but then the market comes in and takes the daily high, right? And then you're looking to trade from this hourly demand zone. The market comes in and sweeps it. Why? Well, because there is imbalance right there to be filled on the daily. Filled it, and then of course you can see the market all of a sudden starts reversing, right? So this is a very recent, I would even call it a aha moment, because I realized why a lot of times my structure gets broken, right? And you can see it gets broken with a wick just to grab that liquidity, impulse into the upside, and then of course I was actually paper trading this long right there without actually having an alignment. So the market tapped into the imbalance and it just carried on to the daily high. Right now, once again, as I said, it is slightly bit tricky because we're taking out daily highs, we're taking out hourly highs, and we're going to be needing some sort of a pullback potentially. But if the market actually prints another bullish candle right there and it forms another daily imbalance right here, that could give us a very good bias for the upcoming week. So I would say when it comes to the Aussie dollar and NZD dollar, I would say stay patient, right? Stay patient a little bit. There is a little imbalance right there. So I would either expect the market to pull back and head higher, or for the market to impulse and then give us a pullback and then head higher. Overall bullish bias, but as I keep saying, when the market pushes a lot, it then tends to pull back to get some steam. But of course, we could be entering into a volatile period right now, where, for example, you can see from here, we had quite a couple of consecutive bearish candles. And right now, we can just imagine we can have quite a couple of consecutive bullish candles. So again, don't wait for a pullback that much. If you just keep having beautiful bullish structure forming, with imbalances to retest, with beautiful bullish structure, keep following it. So that's NU, bullish bias. NZD-JPY, well, of course, similar to the rest of the JPYs, but although this one is very clean. Weekly break of structure, pullback, weekly higher low, push, weekly higher high, weekly break of structure right there. And what we haven't done on this one is to have a weekly pullback. And we have here a beautiful weekly imbalance. That is a very powerful area. Now, this week, the market actually continues to push up to potentially break that previous weekly high. Where is it responding to? Well, from this daily high low formation. And I think I told you actually that these lows right there look very, 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 very good to be swept, to tap inside that imbalance and then to potentially go. But no, the market on Monday consolidated, on Tuesday it potentially provided a long trade, and then we'll have 3 consecutive bullish days. Very nice. Potentially the next target will be that daily break structure. Most recently, we formed this little imbalance that could potentially act as a long area if the market doesn't first take out the daily high. But yeah, like the trick about this one was that this was a daily low, daily high. It was a hourly low and a hourly high, and all of this is internal right there. So you can see the market was really choppy down there at the bottom, preparing for something, and then it just started sliding. Now, EJ, I really think to start trading EJ because, for example, AJ and NJ, like you can see, NJ, it just rallied up, right? But if you have a look at EJ was making clean higher lows and higher highs, right? So again, this is what I'm personally gonna have to find out like the perfect JPY to potentially add to my list. But right now, have a very nicely bullish structure on the daily, very nice bullish structure on the 4H, although we're still trading between this big leg. And yeah, again, like we also have a hourly imbalance right there. We have another one up there, so we could expect some sort of a pullback and then potentially to go. But if we first had to take out the daily high, then of course you can start expecting a potential deeper pullback, and we have to adapt until then. So nothing much to mention about this one. Again, it really depends on how it opens. So if it opens bullish, takes out daily high, expect a pullback or expect for it to run even higher to form new areas to trade from. But if it starts bearish and we pull back towards the hourly or the daily imbalance, then of course you can take longs to target that daily high. So let's see how it goes. Here we are with USD JPY. So a very interesting week. If you have a look on the weekly candle, we are having a massive rejection coming from the downside. Very choppy 5 weeks right there again of price action. We took out the high and right now we're taking out the lows. So is this fuel to fuel the market to go higher? Well, let's see, but nothing too much to explore on the weekly. There are no imbalances, there is no clean structure, so straight dropping on the daily. Now the daily is also super unclear. Like we broke up here and then we broke down there, and currently the daily structure is bearish coming from this daily high. I keep drawing this right now. Coming from this daily lower high to daily lower low. But 50-50, we came in to take a lot of, like, this was big trend line right there, big trend line liquidity. This is why I hate trend lines, because they usually become liquidity. But I don't really look at the trend line, I just look at the lows. Like 1 low, 2 low, 3 low, all of them got collected right there. Even here we actually had equals between this and this one. Massively rejected on Tuesday, and then we had this morning star formation, right? And then we also formed this little imbalance right there coming in from the downside, but also we have very nice bearish steam coming in from the upside. So tricky because it can play out in a lot of ways. We can push in right there, come inside the daily supply, and then from there we have to see what's going to happen. We can first push up and then of course see whether it's going to respect or blow through the roof, right? So this is what I think right now in terms of the daily time frame. Not entirely clear. Then on the volatile time frame, you can see on the volatile time frame we actually had this bullish alignment right there after Tuesday took out the liquidity, and there was also a beautiful long trade right there. I mean, Asian low was taken, massive liquidity to the lows are taken, and this is where the low got taken. We had a bullish alignment, and I also paper traded this trade right there. And again, you can see simply targeting the volatile high. There is your simple 3R. Could have been even much better. So again, simple setups like this, just if you're very clean on the positioning of price. Like this was, of course, buying a lower low, which is counter trend, but after taking a lot of liquidity and showing us this beautiful setup on a Tuesday, it was a setup worth taking. Now, this is what the volatile time frame is doing. No higher high is made. So we're still trading between this low to this high. Tricky, yeah. I mean, this one is tricky, and I'm not gonna say much about this because honestly, guys, I don't know. Those are my scenarios. We're either just gonna pop up to the upside and tap inside this daily supply to then see what is gonna going on from there. Volatile being bullish and daily actually giving us that little clue right there with this little imbalance, because we don't have really anything clear on the voyage. If it starts bearish and taps inside this imbalance, which also resonates with almost close to the 50%, well, not really, but very close, maybe we are gonna tap a little bit lower, then I'm gonna be looking for longs, targeting the volatile high right there, and of course the supply. So let's see. Let me know what you guys think about UJ. I am neither bullish nor bearish because we collected a lot of liquidity. Like after building up all of this choppiness, we took out the highs, we took it out again, we turned, we took out all the lows, and right now it looks like we want to turn again. So let's see. Rather tricky. Yes, I'm neither bullish nor bullish. Let's just see how it's gonna open, and then we're gonna flow. All right, here we are with the GBPs, starting with GU. Very nice bullish candle this week, which also creates a weekly imbalance that is very, very, very powerful right there. But now, as you see, like this candle and this candle are very, very, very bullish. So of course, what we could also have is another bullish candle to form a potential imbalance even right there. Now, in order for this imbalance to form, the market does not have to cross this high right there. So I want you to pay attention to this. Right, so if the market actually opens a little bit bearish and start heading below this one, then it's most likely going to pull back here and then potentially impulse. But if the market starts opening bullish and pushing into the highs, then it's most likely going to make another imbalance right there for us to feel on the next week. So right now, absolutely bullish bias, and it's bullish across every single time frame. Now, on the daily, again, like we have this daily low to daily high, the market pullback, beautiful. And I was expecting these longs. And this is what I'm a little bit pissed about, because I had a clean bias, but somehow no trades were provided. But they were provided in the opposite side. Then we had a daily break of structure once again on Monday. Tuesday made a high, Wednesday pulled back. Where did it pull back? Well, daily high low and also daily imbalance right there, which was extremely clean. I was looking for the Tuesday candle to form so that I can later expect Wednesday to push into it, right? But then Wednesday pretty much massively kind of went lower. And then Thursday was the bank holiday, so no setups, and then Friday impulse. So again, kind of the bias was spot on, but somehow, as I keep telling you guys, I didn't manage to get in on GU. Now, this is what we have right now. Everything is filled. The daily time frame is bullish. We're having a new daily higher low formation. And again, I'm just going to keep this weekly one. Can I make this? Yeah, I don't like it, but let's see something like that. So we just know like what this imbalance right there is. Nicely pushing into the highs, and again, it really depends on how it opens. So here is that daily break of structure, which also resonates with the volatile. Like on the volatile, we had this volatile low to volatile high. The market pulled back below the 50%, and this is pretty much where the longs should have been taken. But if you go to explore where the longs were, well, they were like end of the day, and then on the next day, this here was the trade, but it was just before news, and I also didn't like how it developed. It first broke out the Asian high, retested the Asian high, then it broke up, but there was no momentum on the breakup. And then technically London manipulation tapped inside the zone, then the news pretty much gave you the long trade. So that is the only long I saw, but I didn't take it because it was before news, and I first wanted to see some of these flat lows. Again, I require from the market to take liquidity, so there was no liquidity taken below, so I didn't take this long. And apart from that, I mean, good luck trading all of these right there, right? Right now, back to the volatile time frame, we're having a new volatile breaker structure. So the volatile time frame is super clean. Demand zone, imbalance right there. Yeah, we have one here, we have one here. So a lot of imbalances right there. So yeah, the question is how it's gonna play out. I mean, we can expect immediate longs just for the market to pull back and continue going higher, which is what I would potentially be expecting. But again, keep in mind, Monday and Tuesday are gonna be slow. So let's wait for them to play out. And then of course, as every day passes by, you're getting more data, you're getting more daily candles. And then of course, you can potentially forecast what could happen. So let's see how Monday opens. I would expect it could pull back a little bit and then just massively rush into the highs. And if it rushes into the highs, I would not really expect for the market to come down all the way to this weekly imbalance right there, because it could be creating a new one. Because currently the sentiment is rather bullish. You can see across all the pairs. They are going rather bullish, and of course with the bearish dollar. So if this persists, then of course we have to go with the flow. So that is GU, bullish bias. This is my expectation, maybe even a little bit lower, maybe even stopping from here. Let's see how it goes. As I look at GJ right now, it is actually the only JPY that took out the previous weekly low and the previous weekly high. So a rather momentous price action right there. And I also want you to have a look at actually where it went. There was that little opening right there, this gap. The market comes and fills it and continues. Daily time frame, we're making a new daily breaker structure. Now, of course, we have to ask the question, how did it create it? Was it strong with imbalances? Well, yes, we have one here and we have one there. So again, that immediately suggests that the market is going strong into the highs. So there's, of course, I'm just going to mark the first one right there. Very, very, very tiny. And right now, as we take out the daily high, I would, of course, expect a potential pullback. So something like this on the daily. Let's see if the volatile time frame resonates. Well, yeah, the volatile time frame higher low is here. We can, of course, you can see on the volatile time frame, it is also very strong. So similar to what I told you on GU, it can just pull back and continue going higher. Or if it doesn't find enough steam to keep pushing in from the volatile pullback, it's going to make a daily pullback to fill in some daily imbalance to take out this low as liquidity right there, and then potentially go. So those are my two scenarios on GJ. Very nice, very simple, bullish bias. Of course, the problem with the JPYs is also always the JPY itself, like UJ. This is why I don't like JPYs, because their correlation with the major pair like GU and then of course USD JPY is usually not going hand in hand for the correlation to work. But we can see that the JPYs have been incredible recently. So again, there are no excuses not to trade them. So bullish bias on GJ, let's see. All right, let's have a look at GOAT. So it was very 50-50 last week because we have this very nice bullish push. We have this very nice pullback. It is currently responding from this weekly imbalance area. And you can see it came in very bearish, but then it offered this bullishness. And then this week just made the weekly low. And it's pushing higher, and of course the next logical target will be that weekly high, which we are coming in very, very, very close to. If the DXY continues dropping, then of course we can see more bullishness on gold. Let's see what is happening on the daily. Now the daily time frame was a little bit slow, right? It's very nicely pushed down, then it started kind of making its way up. Overall bullish, and if you also look carefully, like there is that little gap right there. I don't like it. I mean, usually you would like to see like, no, the second candle is more important. Like if it expands, then of course the third candle filling in right there, another daily breaker structure right there. And currently we have this little imbalance that is still not yet filled, but we can see that the market already for 2 days, it's pushing higher and it's most likely driving towards that weekly high right there. So dropping onto the volatile time frame to maybe get a little bit more clues. Again, guys, with the bank holiday on Thursday, and then yeah, you can see even going on Friday. I mean, look at this price action. Not very clean. Not very clean in terms of bias, but we can of course expect potentially this one to get filled and to potentially go, or for us to straight head into the highs. Like the volatile range, according to me, is still this, like volatile low to volatile high. And there is nothing too much to look on the forex. So slightly bit unclear. It can go like to take out the high. And then from there, guys, we just have to see how the candles are going to form, because they could reject. That could mean it's coming for a pullback. They can push. That means that it's either going to continue, right? But of course, if we start bearish and if we come in towards here to take out these flat lows to tap into the imbalance and into the 50% on the forex, which we haven't yet filled, right? Then of course from there we're going to have a clean setup to target those highs right there. So that is gold. That is good according to me. Very nice, very simple. Let's see how it goes, and of course wait for clear setups, because again, since the end of Wednesday, it got pretty choppy. So of course there is going to be some moves, because after choppiness the market is expanding. So again, either wait for the expansion to get a clear bias, or of course wait for a proper setup so that you don't get messed up in the middle right there. All right, here we are with the indices. They keep soaring into the highs. My portfolio is looking as green as ever, which is one good thing that I'm going to be finishing the year with. But also, I'm a little bit skeptical with this because, again, with all the narrative that is going on about crash, about inflation, about war, and all of this sort of stuff, like you would usually expect the stock market to drop. But again, companies are strong and the stock market is growing, right? And because right now, the dollar is starting to decline a little bit and there are no more expectations for interest rate hikes, that of course is positive for the stock market. And we can see probably since that announcement of Powell that like the economy is good and interest rates are no more likely to be increased, although we still don't know, right? The market keeps pushing. So if there is interest rate hike, I think the market is gonna dump. So let's see. US 30 is just going crazily into the upside right now. It yet makes another imbalance right there. On the weekly, we also have another one down there. The monthly time frame is gonna close very, very, very strong. So let's see. Weekly time frame extremely bullish. The next logical target is all the way this high right there, July's high, which is pretty much our yearly highs. So we reached the high during this year. So then we had this very nice drop of around 10%, which is a great. Actually, like 6 to 8% is a healthy pullback. We just crossed that threshold, like around 10%, which is like what is not a pullback, but a bigger correction. And right now we're just expanding higher. Daily time frame, I hate it. I hate it because right now it starts to look a little bit not nice, right? A little bit not nice. And I would really appreciate if we actually feel that little weekly imbalance right there, so that we can actually start going higher. Because again, on the daily, we're just like chop, chop, one candle up, chop, chop, one candle up, chop, candle up. It's very, very, very slow. And it doesn't really respond from those highs to the left. Like broke the high, pullback, continues, right? So right now it's coming inside this high, which is gonna break it. So are we gonna have a reaction? Well, let's see. But I want to see a little bit more cleaner price action, but let's not complain. We do have it. There is a daily break structure. There is the daily imbalance that is to be filled, right? And if we fill this one and if we respect that, of course, could mean long. If we don't respect this one, that could mean we're gonna be going lower towards that weekly imbalance. Dropping onto the 40 time frame, and I don't want to drop there because it's not nice. Again, this is what we have. This is when I definitely avoided trading. Then we have this push, pullback, and then here it also tricky. I mean, look at these candles right there. If you just drop to an hourly or to the 50-minute time frame, it is just crazy. I just cannot really find any opportunities on the indices, which is good. I mean, which is good because I'm very cleanly waiting for something clear. Because on indices, since I started trading them like relentlessly, I made a mistake to actually learn how to trade indices live, and I paid my cost to the market by having like a 5% loss on my indices account. It's not big, but still doesn't feel good. But still, I paid my cost to the market to actually get serious, backtest first, build a clear strategy first, and then go into the live market, right? Because I thought my Forex approach is gonna work great. Well, it doesn't, right? So right now you can see on the 4H, it is not nice, especially this last piece of price action. And I'm not even gonna draw structure because I can draw like this is my last higher low, got respected, pushed up. It's unclear. It's unclear. So I would prefer to stay on the daily and tell you that again, let's see how, of course, the next daily candle is gonna open, because if it rallies again into the highs and we have another imbalance, then of course we keep following that. But I would expect for us to have a deeper pullback, but we need a catalyst for that pullback, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be this week. So that is US 30. Massively bullish. Let's see how it's gonna happen. So far I have no setups, so I'm not trading. Very important level for Nasdaq has been reached, and in fact we actually reached it last week, but the market just wicked, and right now it looks like it wants to continue. But you can see the momentum of the last two candles is starting to slow down. Like there was a wick here, and then there is even a bigger wick right there. We still did form this imbalance. That could be something that we can be looking for to get filled next week. That is very powerful. But you can see here we had one, didn't fill. Here we had one, didn't fill. Right now here we have one. Is it gonna fill? Well, let's see. It's getting a little bit high right now. Of course, on these pushes right there, the market was most likely coming from something there, right? You can immediately see there was that There was that imbalance right there, maybe on the monthly time frame as well. Like there was one here, but then there was one right there. And right now we're just massively expanding higher. So let's see how that is gonna go forward. Damn, I just keep typing D1 instead of 1 day. Dropping onto the daily on NASDAQ, you can see once again, I don't like it. I don't like it. It broke structure here. And since then it's been choppy. So I am gonna stay on the daily because you can see there is that weekly imbalance that resonates with the daily. And I would like for us to have a pullback down there so we can actually take all of these flat lows right here and then potentially fuel a move higher. Because even if I go on the 4-hourly time frame right now, well, yeah, you could have taken a long trade because it very nicely imposed, it pulled back here, tapped the demand, expanded higher, but then since then we are chopping around and I don't like it right now. I don't like it. So again, guys, I mean, with indices, you gotta be patient and you gotta wait for that proper setup because again, they are very fast, but they're fast for a reason because they are like coming in from something very strong. And right now, when they're not coming in from anything, they start chopping around. So again, let's wait. Personally, I'm looking for that zone to be reached right here. Again, right now we're gonna have our first demand zone to be encountered, but looking at how the market broke on the foliage right there, it doesn't give me a lot of a lot of confidence. So let's see. I mean, it could just tap in from here and it can rocket. If it rockets, then of course we're gonna follow it. But personally, I would like to see some liquidity being taken below these flat lows into the weekly and daily imbalance, and then I would love for us to go from there. So that is my NASDAQ outlook. Let's see how it goes. And last but not least, we're having SPX, which is more similar to the NASDAQ. It's taking out the highs and it just keeps impulsing higher. There is the high that is taken right now. There is the next one. And we took out this high, no reaction, right? And we're creating this weekly imbalance right there. We have one below and we have one below, right? Which is most likely going to be forming like a monthly imbalance right now. But of course, we're going to still need one more month. Dropping onto the daily time frame, again, similar to NASDAQ, it is just not good. It is not good, and I'm looking at this weekly imbalance right there, perfectly resonating with this daily one, although this daily one got filled on this day right there, and then since then we imposed. Last 2 days, chop, pretty much this week, you can see, apart from Monday, 4 days of chop, right? So I am just looking for something to happen, preferably exactly the same thing that I told you on NASDAQ. I'm looking for a nice, sharp move down to tap us into an area of liquidity and then potentially to fuel a move higher. Because even if I look right now at the 4-hourly structure, I mean, look at this. Look at that. Here, maybe you could have taken some sort of a long trade. But yeah, right now, this is our 4-hourly demand zone. The market broke with a wick. Well, it eventually broke with a body. And right now it's chopping. I just don't like how it looks at the top. So again, I would love to see a catalyst to push us down, to grab a lot of liquidity. And then maybe we can even shift bearish. Who knows? Right, who knows? But we need some sort of a displacement, some sort of a disruption. So patiently waiting for this and not really touching them. I mean, yeah, since this massive push right there, we chopped here, then we pushed again, and we chopped again, right? So slightly hard to get into a trade, but again, it is what it is. And I'm happy that it actually doesn't provide because I get more time to work on actually figuring indices out for myself. So that is SPX. Again, overall long bias. I mean, can something like this happen? Absolutely. But again, I would expect a deeper daily pullback because you can see the daily time frame right now is starting to consolidate. Now, if of course we pull back and we start having like big fat candles like this, then absolutely we're gonna follow it. But so far we don't have them. So this is probably the market crying for a potential pullback to take out some liquidity and then go. So that is SPX, similar to NASDAQ. US 30 is the only one that has like a little bit of a daily imbalance that can potentially fuel a move higher. But overall, they're all very high. They're all getting a little bit choppy. So let's be careful. All right, just to recap a little bit. Now, the DXY is still definitely bearish, but it's left as a beautiful weekly imbalance that we can potentially look to get filled. Monday and Tuesday are going to be slow. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are going to be the potential big days. So, of course, make sure to check out your economic calendars. EU is also very bullish, leaving us a beautiful weekly imbalance to potentially fill, to give us a pullback, to take out these two lows, and then to potentially move to fuel a move higher. Of course, intraday, you can first be looking for daily highs to be taken and then going against it, expecting that fill. But of course, that is going to depend on the news. The JPYs, all of them are very nicely bullish. Euro Yen has a beautiful bullish order flow going on right now. So we can potentially expect further upside towards the high. Now, Aussie USD and NZ USD are both pretty high. So again, the question is, are they going to give us a deeper pullback to take some liquidity before they go, or are they going to continue pushing higher? I personally don't like them. They provided beautiful longs this week. So again, next week, we're having a lot of NZD and a lot of Aussie news. So watch out for that. Same with the JPYs, like AJ already making the move, pushing towards that high. NJ already making the move, pushing towards the daily high. So after that daily high is taken, then, of course, we're going to be having a lot of news on Wednesday. We also have news on Tuesday for the Aussies, so make sure to monitor your news for those pairs. Now, UJ is a pair that is slightly bit confusing right now. It's taking a lot of liquidity on the weekly and on the daily. It all of a sudden goes with nice bearish momentum, but right now it returns back with a lot of bullish momentum. So which is going to prevail? Supply or demand, buyers or sellers? Let's see. GU, bullish bias, just purely bullish right now, leaving us also with a very nice weekly imbalance that we can potentially expect to fill. But looking at the very strong close, I wouldn't expect for us to have a very big bearish pullback. But again, who knows? We're going to be having also news for the GBP. So again, pay attention to that. And of course, if the volatile time frame starts failing, then of course you're going to know that we're most likely pulling back on the daily and the weekly. GJ, very strong. This is the only JPY that actually calls the daily breakout structure. So right now we can expect either a continuation or for it to potentially take some liquidity and continue going higher. Gold, 50-50, but more bullish. The overall narrative is bullish. Like the question is how it's going to play out. Whether start bearish and push up, or whether start bullish and then potentially to see what's going to happen. And indices, they're all a little bit choppy right now at the top. The only clean one that actually left some sort of an imbalance on the daily is US 30, right? But of course, let's see how it's going to go after it takes out this high. Then, of course, I would expect, because the rest of the indices are choppy, I would expect a weekly or a daily pullback. So, of course, let's see. Traders, let me know how you performed this week. What trades did you take? Did you take any? Are you happy? Are you not? What did you learn this week? And let me know what is your favorite pair looking forward for next week. Wishing you an incredible weekend, and I wish you a crushing week ahead of you. Hopefully, you're going to finish November strong. So, talk to you on Tuesday or Wednesday.